So people, so people will often ask me, Lex, how are you a minister who cusses? It is the funniest thing to never have anyone question whether or not I'm telling the truth, but they question how I communicate that truth, that live reality. And I am certainly as I've gotten older, I prefer to move towards wholeness. And by wholeness, I mean I acknowledge every way that I'm, influenced, properly, improperly, whether it's just been, from childhood or what have you. I love being whole and telling these whole stories. And one of the ways in which I embrace that I am a reverently irreverent minister. It is because I embrace those two influences, my hyper-religious mother and my candy apple redheaded crazy auntie. She's my mama's baby sister. They're about 3 years apart. And most of my life they've not lived more than 2 miles apart, but they're very, very different. Mom loves Jesus Christ. Auntie loves Johnny Taylor. They both worked for the employer for about 40 years. Mom put on a business suit, went to work every day. And my crazy auntie put on a post office uniform and went to work every day. As they got older and their hair began to turn gray, they both had way too much youthful swag to carry that look. So they dyed their hair. Mama dyes hers black. Auntie dyes hers anywhere on the spectrum of red, from like auburn to candy apple. And finally, both of them have a Bible that they carry with them everywhere they go. Mama has one of them big study Bibles with the gold tabs that mark every blessed section from Genesis to maps. And Auntie has one of them little Gideon Bibles with just the New Testament plus the Psalms and the Proverbs. And I promise you, wherever she is right now, I bet she got that Bible with her. It's in the corner pocket of her purse next to her MAC blot powder. I am the perfectly socially influenced concoction of these two women. And that was made crystal clear on December 12, 2012. I was in Houston for my goddaughter Destiny's 12th birthday. So on 12/12/12, Destiny's turning 12. We're having a big family party for her. And Mom and I were out running errands for the party that day. We're in Mom's car. She's driving. And the radio is tuned to the contemporary Christian station. Now, I fired, the contemporary Christian station years ago. It was back during the Bill Clinton era when everything just became, vitriolic and dark, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I traded Amy Grant for, Lil' Kim. Like I was just kind of done with contemporary Christian radio. But Mama is still very much a devout listener of this content. And so we're in her car. We are driving. The minister is wrapping up his sermon. We're approaching 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and suddenly I panic. They're getting ready to go into the news briefs. Now, what Christian radio did to Bill Clinton is nothing compared to the way they skewered Barack Obama. It was like every sermon, every news story, every fact they uttered had one goal. It was to make that brother look bad so that he would be a one-term president. And the truth was negligible. It didn't matter if it was true or not, which is why every time they said something foul, I would completely come out of myself. I was never willing to engage my better angels at that time. And I just thought, what am I going to do in this space? And so I'm growing really, really anxious. And then suddenly I remember, oh, wait a minute. It's December 2012. He already won his second term. So I chillax a bit, confident that they're going to have to find something else to talk about. Newscaster comes on. First story, first sentence. He says, a recent study has shown by the year 2050, white Americans will be the minority in this country. Now I'm thinking that's not new research. In 1995, Farash Adir wrote a book called The Color of Our Future. Said the exact same thing. It's not new. Second sentence. This has been attributed to President Barack Obama's failed economic policies. And before I can gather myself, I point to the radio, turn to my mama, yo, did you hear what that motherfucker just said? My mama looked at me. She whipped her neck to my direction, like her eyes narrow and her top lip curled over her teeth. She's like, don't you dare use that kind of language, Alexis. God is going to judge you for every word you say. And I am mortified. I'm like, judge me? What is God going to do with that motherfucker? Now, that was one motherfucker's too many. Because the next thing I knew, Mama had reached for the brim of her hat, took that bad boy off, tossed it in the back seat, landed on top of her Bible, which was on top of her Sunday school book, which is on top of her sermon notes journal. And she lifted her index finger. Now, anyone who grew up in the Black church tradition, you know that when we are exiting the sanctuary, we put our heads down, we lift our index finger, and we walk out silently. But we're in the car. Mama lifted her index finger, and it's like she's saying, Jesus, I'm going to be right back. And with that, she lit into me. Now, whenever I tell this story, I never disclose what she said. That's her story to tell or not tell. But when she was done, she put her finger down. She reached in the back seat to retrieve her holiness, put her hat back on, and kept it moving. I was livid, but I wasn't cussing no more. But still, I said to her, I can't believe that you are angry with me and you ain't got nothing to say about this dude who just blatantly told this lie. All of the lies that come on this radio station, you ain't got nothing to say to them, but me, you and God are mad at me. And then she takes a deep breath and she exhales loudly. And she says, Lex, I take in the good and I dismiss the rest of that foolishness. Now in my mind, I'm thinking bullshit, but I keep it in my mind. I ain't trying to see her no more. And finally, she reaches for the radio. She turns it off and we continue running our errands in silence. We get back to her house. We retreat to separate corners, Mom to the back TV room and me to the kitchen. And I'm in the kitchen and I'm replaying everything that's happened. And, real talk, I'm feeling some kind of way. Like, did I go too hard, in this situation, the circumstance? And so when I get tired of being in my head by myself, I head to the back room. Mama's seated on she's seated on a leather recliner. She's thumbing through a magazine. I walk up to her, I kiss her forehead, and I say, Mama, I'm sorry for being disrespectful. She says, Lex, don't be sorry, be different. And that pissed me off even further because what she was supposed to say was, Lex, I'm sorry too. And I know that you are a critical consumer of information. I believe it's my fault. I'm the one that took you to the library all those years, made you check out, read all them books, signed you up for them summer reading programs so you kept winning all them free pizza coupons. Like that's what she was supposed to say. But she didn't come nowhere near the lines in that script. She completely ad-libbed the wrong way. Don't be sorry, be different. I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I am done with this. Until later on that evening at the dinner party, in walks my crazy Amy. She's rocking cherry Kool-Aid red cornrows and she is still wearing her post office uniform. She comes into the space, the whole room lights up. Hey, we all yell. And so she's wading through the crowd, hugging and kissing everyone, apologizing for being, still being in her work clothes, but confessing, hey, if I'd have gone home first, I wasn't coming back out. I worked hard today. But didn't nobody care about that. We were just glad to see her. I watched her make her rounds. And when she was done, I beckoned her to the back corner where I was. So she comes back there and, she's real concerned. And I'm like, Amy, you won't believe what happened today. She's like, what? So we both take a seat and I began to tell her everything that went down. And I was like, and the man on the radio, he said this about President Obama. And I was like, and Mom was like, God's going to strike you dead. So I gave her all the play-by-play, word-for-word accounts of what had happened. And when I was done, I said to her, Amy, what you think? She shrugs her shoulders and says, Lex, I only got one other thing to add. You was motherfucking right. My crazy Amy. I am reverently irreverent, dually influenced by two amazing women. My Jesus-loving, hyper-religious mother and my candy apple, red-headed crazy Amy. So whenever I tell this story, I am all the time honoring the whole self, my full self.